Divine Revelation. The magnetic poles shifted and prophetic changes are at hand for 40 days. In the quaint village of Little Haven, a stir of extraordinary grace began to tremble through the dusty lanes and sunlit gardens as dusk hovered over the aged stones of St. Michael's parish. With the sky ablaze in hues of orange and gold, Margaret knelt beneath the grand arch of the chapel, the incense rising like a humble offering to the heavens. She felt the air thrum with a divine presence, an electric whisper igniting her spirit as she prayed fervently for her family and community. "Lord, guide us," she murmured, her heart heavy with the weight of unspoken burdens. In that sacred stillness, she was overwhelmed by a revelation, a calling so profound it took her breath away. A 40-day fast echoed through her thoughts like bells rung in celebration. Margaret could scarcely contain the excitement mingled with uncertainty, a holy invitation to bind the villagers in a collective act of faith and sacrifice, promising a transformation born from the depths of their souls. In that moment, the world around her began to shift. The very air vibrated, an otherworldly hum rose from the earth beneath their feet. The magnetic fields of their lives were being realigned, as if the cosmos itself had leaned in, beckoning and promising the miraculous. But as the pulse of divine energy reverberated through Little Haven, Margaret faced her first obstacle. When she approached Pastor Thomas, her heart raced. She shared her revelation with glowing eyes, hopeful and trembling. Yet his brow furrowed with skepticism. "A 40-day fast, Margaret," he said slowly, weighing her words against the faith of the congregation. That's quite a claim, and fraught with challenges. Just as doubt seeped into their exchange, Margaret's eldest son, Ethan, fell gravely ill. Panic surged through their home, while earnest prayers echoed within the walls of the chapel. The stunning light from the setting sun illuminated the faces of the townsfolk, a handful of whom gathered in support. Their whispers turned to shouts of faith: "We believe. We trust." As Margaret looked up, a warmth flooded her heart, tears glistening in gratitude. The chapel, once a place of wood and stone, transformed into a sanctuary alive with fervent prayers. The spirit of community rekindled, drawing people closer in holy unity. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the days that followed, the palpable tension transformed into a wild anticipation. Then, the unthinkable happened. Ethan, once shadowed by illness, awoke with a clarity that shone like the light of hope. Just as the villagers were beginning to lose faith, here was a miracle, a moment so grand that it rippled through the hearts of all. Villagers wept and laughed, embracing the reality of their collective faith, uniting in praise. The 40-day fast drew upon them like a call to arms, stirring them to awaken their souls. As hearts once closed began to thaw, the chapel filled with stories of redemption, testimonies bursting forth in joyous celebration. But simmering beneath the surface, Margaret sensed a deeper urgency. What was coming next? As the final days approached, the church echoed with vibrant hymnals, yet an enigmatic whisper stirred within Margaret's spirit, drawing her towards the future. Every soul united in prayer stood on the precipice of a profound journey. What awaited them beyond this monumental fast? The question hung in the air, ripe with divine promise, ready to unveil the next chapter of God's extraordinary plan. As the sun rose on the final days of their sacred journey, a renewed energy coursed through Little Haven. Margaret felt the weight of anticipation pressing down on her shoulders, mingling with a quiet joy. Each morning brought them closer to the culmination of the fast, the promises whispered in prayer illuminating her path like sunshine piercing through autumn leaves. The days were filled with a hum of spiritual awakening. Neighbors who had once exchanged only polite nods now gathered in each other's homes, sharing meals of simple bread and water, each morsel infused with devotion. Stories of old were retold, faith rekindled, and bonds knit tighter. They began to see the world around them transform, not just the physical site of their village, but the very essence of their existence together. Margaret watched as small miracles blossomed, like flowers gently breaking through snow after a long winter. The widow with a garden of weeds found her plots of land yielding vegetables she thought lost. The baker, once weary under the burden of bills, now flourished as customers flocked to his shop, drawn by an inexplicable need for sustenance and connection. Each small blessing resonated in Margaret's heart, echoing the affirmation of their collective faith. One particular afternoon, the villagers decided to congregate at the chapel, spirits buoyed by their shared experiences. The atmosphere buzzed with hope, as Margaret stood at the center, her heart a drum of fervent affection, echoing in unison with their gathered voices. "We have prayed, we have fasted, each moment has been a step towards the light," she proclaimed, her hands raised in surrender, beckoning the divine to speak through her. "God is aware of our struggles, of our dreams. We stand together, united in love and faith." Those words poured from her lips like a bubbling brook, soft yet powerful, washing over their tired souls. Margaret noticed the tears glistening in the eyes of young and old, each face a canvas of longing and joy. This moment belonged to all, yet it felt profoundly personal, like a calling echoing through the corridors of heaven to land upon each heart. However, even as joy filled the air, an unsettling thought flickered like a candle in the wind. What lay ahead? The final days were marked by the divine revelation promised, but with it came the uncertainty of what they might be asked to surrender. That night, Margaret lay awake, her soul stirring restlessly. Ethan's healing had been a landmark, yet shadows of fears danced in the corners of her mind. Could they sustain this newfound faith? Would their prayers summon greater challenges? She closed her eyes, seeking a deeper connection with the divine. "Father, give me wisdom," she whispered, "to lead our people through the next steps. Show us the way." Suddenly, a warm light enveloped her room, not blinding but soothing. Margaret felt a presence, a loving embrace, ushering in a promise like a gentle breeze. With the dawn of the last day of their fast upon them, an extraordinary sense of purpose surged through Little Haven. The chapel, filled with flickering candlelight, sat expectant and quiet, awaiting the unfolding of God's majestic plan. What would be revealed? As Margaret stood before her people, she could feel the undeniable weight of something extraordinary approaching, a divine revelation lingering like a spark just beneath the surface. God's hand was at work, and the time for transformation was upon them. Yet the true challenge of faith awaited, a reckoning that would test their resolve. How would they respond to the calling that was about to unfold? The question hung in the air, an exhilarating tension fueling their eager hearts. What awaited them on the morrow, as the last candle flickered its light in a world soon to be changed? The sky greeted the dawn with a palette of orange and gold, as if it too anticipated the momentous gathering ahead. Little Haven buzzed with a vibrant energy, the air thick with hope and expectation. Margaret stepped outside, her heart racing as she sensed the divine presence weaving through the village like a warm silk thread connecting all souls together. Inside the chapel, the candles lit a sacred path toward the altar, flickering gracefully, each flame whispering quiet prayers. The villagers filed in, their faces illuminated by the soft glow, eyes sparkling with the promise of revelation. Old and young, rich and poor, they came together, beacons of faith ready to embrace whatever God would unveil. Margaret could feel their hearts beating as one, their collective hope reaching upward. The air stood still, charged with an electrifying sense of expectancy. She clasped her hands, feeling the pulse of the congregation beneath her fingertips, a sacred rhythm stirring in the atmosphere. "Friends," she began, her voice steady yet filled with emotion, "today, we gather not just as individuals, but as a living testimony of our faith. God has witnessed our sacrifices, He has heard our cries. We stand on the cusp of something magnificent." Her words cascaded into the hush, filling the space with warmth. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, hands reaching skyward, faces alight with fervent devotion. In this sacred silence, the chapel felt alive, a temple brimming with anticipation. Suddenly, the air shifted. A breath of wind swirled around them, carrying a scent like blooming jasmine. It wrapped them in a divine embrace. Margaret paused, sensing the miraculous touch of the Spirit moving among them. "I feel him," she whispered, her voice breaking. "The Lord is here. He is with us." The declarations of the faithful erupted like a joyous symphony, tears streamed down many faces, each drop laden with longing and faith. The chaplain, Sir Jonathan, a man well in years yet vibrant in spirit, stepped forward. His hands shook as he held the word of God high. "Let us open our hearts. Let the scriptures unfold the truth of our journey." They recited scripture, their voices merging into a harmonious chorus echoing through the sacred walls. "For I know the plans I have for you," the words wrapped around them like a promise, warm and enveloping, stirring something deep within. As their praise filled the air, Margaret felt the weight of the congregation's faith rise higher. She closed her eyes, absorbing the moment. What would the Lord ask of them? She knew the last hour of the fast would be marked by challenges as well as blessings. With a breath, she looked around, absorbing every face illuminated by faith. What if she began, a thought sparking in her mind? What if the journey does not end today, but rather begins anew? Our trials could forge us stronger. Will we embrace the struggle and grow in faith? The villagers nodded, a ripple of vigor pulsing through them. But in her heart, a shadow lurked. What would those trials entail? Bargains often came with a cost, a whisper of sacrifice she could not ignore. Just then, the ground trembled slightly, and a faint light danced through the stained glass windows. An audible gasp swept through the chapel. Margaret's pulse quickened. Was this the sign? The divine promise about to be unveiled? With hearts pounding, the congregation held their breath, the tension palpable, eager for direction, for purpose. As she stepped back, her heart ached with curiosity for what God had planned. Would they rise to the challenge? Would they weather the storm of transformation? The chapel awaited further revelation, suspense hanging like a cloud, waiting to burst forth with divine clarity. What truth would emerge to guide them on this newly illuminated path? The light flickered like a heartbeat in the moments of uncertainty, reminding them all. Faith beckoned, inviting them deeper into God's glorious plan. What transformation lay ahead as the clock wound down toward divine intervention? The atmosphere in the chapel thickened with anticipation, as if heaven itself was preparing to spill forth its grace. Margaret's heart raced as she felt the energy in the room like a vibrant thread knitting them all closer together. The warmth of faith wrapped around her, urging her thoughts deeper into the mystery unfolding. Suddenly, the faint light intensified, casting the intricate patterns of the stained glass onto the congregation. It bathed the faces around her in a brilliant kaleidoscope, each color a reminder of God's promise. Eyes widened in awe, whispers of reverence floated among the faithful. Children clutched their parents, while elders grasped the hands of their neighbors. The chapel swayed with a hum of devotion, a melody of shared hopes swirling higher into the divine. Margaret sensed a shift within her. A voice, soft yet insistent, whispered in her soul, "Embrace the unknown. Trust the unfolding." She knew this was not just an ordinary gathering. This was a divine appointment, a moment laden with the unfolding of promises yet to be realized. As Sir Jonathan raised his hands, the light grew brighter, illuminating the very essence of their collective spirit. We stand before a threshold. God yearns to show us his wonders. Are we ready to receive? His words echoed through the sanctuary like a bell ringing in the dawn. The crowd responded with a resounding yes. The blend of fervor and faith rolled outward, enveloping everything within the chapel walls and spilling into the streets of Little Haven. Outside, the world felt alive, too, the trees swaying in sync with the hearts of the people, the sky shedding light as if drawn closer to earth. Margaret's heart fluttered. Every moment holds purpose, but what would the cost be? She mused inwardly, a soft shadow tugging at the edge of her spirit. Was she prepared to face whatever trials lay ahead? Would they, as a community, bear the burdens of their faith? Just then, a strong wind rushed through the open windows, filling the chapel with a rustling sound that mirrored the whispers of ancient prophecies. The candles flickered wildly, casting dramatic shadows that danced across the walls. An otherworldly presence brushed past her. Was it a sign, a confirmation of their calling? The air shimmered with possibility, heavy with divine purpose. Margaret took a step forward, feeling the weight of uncertainty coalesce into a fierce determination. Today marks a new beginning. We shall step boldly into this divine journey, she proclaimed, the words erupting from her like a surge of power. Cheers erupted around her as hope blazed anew. Each heart quickened, and she could see visions of possibilities spark in their eyes, new potentials, healing journeys, transformations yet unseen. This was more than a mere fast, it was the start of a new movement, echoing the cry of their deep yearning for connection with the Almighty. Breathe it in, friends. Feel the awakening within. The words flowed from her, empowering the faithful. What they would face remained a mystery, yet there was an undeniable unity between them, a bond forged in trials, hope, and love. In that moment, the clock chimed the hour, resonating through the sacred space. Suddenly, the chapel doors swung open, and the light poured in, a vivid reminder of the divine calling if they dared to step beyond their comfort. Margaret's pulse quickened at the thought of the changes ahead. What awaited them? The sunlight spilled like a river of gold, urging them towards belief and action. Just as they prepared to move, she felt a tremor in the earth beneath their feet. The air vibrated with an electrifying charge. What was God preparing for them? The promise felt palpable, yet cloaked in sacred mystery. With each step forward, they stood at the edge of something profound, something that would mark the pulse of their village forevermore. Will we let our faith propel us into the unknown? She asked, eyes scanning the congregation, searching for the resolve to embrace the divine adventure. As they looked upon each other, her heart swelled with anticipation. Would they rise together, willing to traverse the uncharted paths before them? The spirit of discovery beckoned, whispering sweetly that the best was yet to come. The moment they crossed the threshold into the light, a palpable change washed over the congregation. Margaret led the charge, feeling the divine presence encircle them, and she could sense the hearts of those following her quickening in unison. Outside the chapel, the world seemed transformed, a canvas ripe with possibilities, each brushstroke colored by their faith. The sun hung low in the sky, casting an ethereal glow across Little Haven. Margaret paused, allowing the warmth to seep deep into her bones as she surveyed the crowd. The faces of her friends and neighbors glimmered with the light of new hope, a collective breath drawn in anticipation of what was to come. They were ready, their spirits intertwined like vines seeking the sunlight. A voice, gentle yet commanding, echoed in her heart. Believe in the unseen, it urged, stirring her spirit to rally those around her. Together, let us walk into this new dawn. Margaret proclaimed, her voice slicing through the golden haze like a beacon. God has stirred our hearts. We are not alone on this journey. Each step holds divine purpose. With arms raised, she led them onward, her own heart a drumbeat resonating with faith, urging their footsteps forward. They moved as one, a spiritual army marching into the divine unknown. Margaret could feel the air thrum with energy, each step uprooting doubts, replanting seeds of trust in their wake. People began to sing an almost instinctive chorus that arose from deep within their souls. The melody carried their hopes to heaven, harmonizing with the whispers of the past and the promises of the future. Tears glistened in eyes as they felt the rhythm of their collective belief, a harmony far grander than any individual note. Suddenly, Margaret saw it, unmistakable and surreal. A figure appeared at the edge of the village square, bathed in celestial light. It stood there, tall and radiant, so utterly serene, a reminder of the divine woven into the fabric of their lives. Gasps rose from the crowd, voices caught in the rapture of the moment. Do not fear. Boomed the figure, the voice like rolling thunder wrapped in warmth. Your prayers have been heard. The time is now. 40 days of grace are upon you. A time for deep transformation, for healing, for unveiling the hidden truths among you. A palpable silence fell over the faithful. It was as if the universe paused, waiting for their response. Margaret shifted on her feet, heart racing with electric anticipation. This was it, a divine reckoning. What shall we do? She cried, the question bursting forth from her soul, suspended in the air. How do we prepare for what is unfolding? The figure smiled, radiant and wise. Let go of your fears. Seek the lost among you. Breathe life into the broken. Each act of service, each word of love, will be a step into the future I have planned for you. Excitement intertwined with trepidation in Margaret's heart. Could they embrace such a vast purpose? Could they truly carry the weight of each other's burdens? The answers tugged at her as she watched the hope start to ignite in everyone's eyes. Amidst the murmurs of encouragement and awe, she sensed the enormity of their calling. Not just to believe but to act, to unite in love, and to heal the hurts that echoed through Little Haven. The air shimmered with expectation, their hopes rising like incense, filling the heavens. What will we receive after these 40 days? A soft voice whispered from the back, breaking the trance. Murmurs of wonder rippled through the crowd. Margaret turned towards the figure, eager for more revelation. Yes. What can we expect? A new depth of understanding, a harvest of joy, and transformation far beyond your wildest dreams. The figure declared. But first, faith must be tested. Only then will the treasures of the soul be revealed. The promise hung like a brilliant star above them, glimmering, almost tangible. Yes, the task was daunting, but with God illuminating their path, something magnificent awaited beyond the horizon. Will we stand together as one? Margaret asked, scanning the faithful, who were now wide-eyed with newfound determination, and they stepped closer, arms linking together in solidarity. Yes. They echoed back, voices strong and infused with purpose. Margaret felt a thrill run down her spine as she awaited the answer to her burning question. What divine plans lay before them, waiting to be unveiled? The journey had begun, but what challenges would they face in those 40 days of prophetic change? The air thickened with anticipation as the figure's words settled over the crowd, wrapping them in a sacred embrace. Margaret's heart beat in rhythm to the faith pulsing through her community. They were on the cusp of something profound. In the distance, the sun dipped lower, as if bowing to the grandeur of the moment. Let us gather together each evening, Margaret suggested, her voice steady and infused with passion. Let us pray, sing, and lift one another in this sacred time. We will seek answers through our unity. The people nodded. A murmur of agreement spread like wildfire, filling the square with a renewed fervor. Eyes sparkled with determination, and hope wove its way in between the hearts of those who stood by. Margaret leaned closer, feeling the energy surge. Each small act of kindness will guide us. Each moment shared will be a step toward fulfillment. Let our love illuminate the shadows. A cascade of voices erupted in agreement. Yes. We will come together. We will not falter. From that day forward, Little Haven transformed. Each dawn brought new opportunities. Neighbors volunteered in pairs, sweeping the streets, gathering food for the needy, and comforting the lonely. Children laughed and played, filling the village square with innocent joy. Each evening, they met under the vast expanse of the twilight sky. Lanterns twinkled like stars as they gathered in awe, ready to share stories of the day. Margaret listened closely, soaking in the testimonies of hope and strength. People spoke of miraculous connections made, healings that had occurred, and moments when love had pierced through despair. The divine presence hung heavily during their gatherings, an unexplainable warmth enveloping them. Margaret felt God's delight, the kind of joy that radiated like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. As the days passed, she noticed changes not just in each person, but in her own heart. "Why are you smiling, my friend?" a voice drawled beside her one night. It was Timothy, a quiet man whose kindness often went unnoticed. "I can feel it all around us," she responded, her eyes alight. "We are being transformed. Every act of love is a miracle in itself. God has woven us together for such a time as this." Timothy nodded, a glimmer of understanding dawning in his eyes. "Sometimes, I feel the weight of my past. But I can see there's light breaking through." As she hugged him, Margaret's heart swelled. Yes, the burdens of the past were being lifted, and the light of their collective faith was casting shadows far deeper than they could have imagined. Yet, as they reached the end of the first week, a tremor of uncertainty crept in. With their spirits lifted so high, doubts began to whisper. The figure's words echoed, faith must be tested. That following Sunday evening, weathered by anticipation, Margaret addressed the crowd once more. What if the journey brings trials we've not yet prepared for? She asked, her voice laced with vulnerability. A hush fell over the congregation. Eyes shifted, faces reflecting both anxiety and resilience. Murmurs broke out, each person grappling with the thought. Could they stand together against potential storms? Would they waver when called into the unknown? I believe we can, shouted a voice from the back. It was Ruth, a woman who had once been crippled by fear. If we lean on one another, we can withstand anything. Indeed. Margaret affirmed passionately, rising above the despair threatening their hope. No challenge can break our bond. For we are strong, we are the salt and light of our world. Their resolve reignited, flickers of faith danced in the crowd. A collective surge of energy pulsed like a heartbeat through each person, reminding them that love transcends every obstacle. As twilight sank in, Margaret felt an intoxicating thrill. What awaited them in the coming days? What trials might test their newfound strength? One thing remained certain in Margaret's heart: transformation was imminent, yet uncertainty lingered like the chill of a night breeze. What would the next week unveil, and how would they respond to the trials that loomed? The journey had transformed them, but would they emerge victorious, or would shadows of doubt claim their faith? In the days that followed, the air was charged with a sense of urgency. Each sunset sparked flickers of anxiety and wonder. The villagers gathered as they always did, but the atmosphere was different, electric with expectancy. Margaret felt it in her bones, a powerful stirring that urged them forward. On that particular evening, she stood before the crowd, a flickering lantern casting a warm glow over her face. The firelight danced in her eyes as she spoke. Dear friends, we stand on the edge of a vast sea of change. What we have built in love is just the beginning. I feel in my heart a call to deepen our faith even when shadows rise. The murmurs of the crowd slowly faded, replaced by an almost reverent silence. She continued, we must welcome the challenges ahead, not shy away from them. It is in these trials that we truly discover our strength and grow towards the light. Ruth raised her hand, catching Margaret's attention. But what if the challenges are too great, Margaret? What if we falter? Can we bear the weight of the trials? With an unshakable calm, Margaret replied, it is in our unity we find support. It is together that we stand tall. Remember how far we've come. Each small act of love has built a beauty within us. Have courage. Nods rippled through the gathering, igniting a collective spirit of resilience. As the evening wore on, Margaret led them in prayer. May our hearts be steadfast. May our faith be fortified, and may we remain open to the wonders God will unveil. Gradually, whispers rose like a gentle breeze. They prayed for vision, clarity, and strength to face unseen storms. In that moment, the presence of the divine felt palpable, a comforting embrace, affirming their intentions. Days passed into weeks, and the anticipation grew. The village became a hive of activity, with each person contributing in profound ways. Yet, Margaret noticed how some struggled to keep the flame of faith alive. Timothy, in particular, appeared distant, caught in a storm of doubt. One twilight evening, under the familiar canopy of glowing lanterns, Margaret sought him out. Timothy, my friend, what troubles your heart? She gently prompted. He sighed deeply, the weight of his worries spilling forth. I want to believe. I do. But what if I am not strong enough when the trials come? What if I disappoint our love? With a hand on his shoulder, she whispered, you have already shown strength, Timothy. Remember, it is not about one of us standing alone, rather, it's about our entire community rising together. In each moment of vulnerability, God's light shines even brighter. As Margaret spoke, a flicker of hope ignited in Timothy's eyes. The very essence of their bond began to unfold before them, a tapestry woven with threads of faith, weaving everyone together in beautiful complexity. Meanwhile, whispers of change began swirling through Little Haven, rumors of prophetic promises encircling the town. Little things began to shift, their prayers felt more potent, voices seemed clearer, inspiration appeared in unexpected moments. Some claimed it was a blessing, others sensed a challenge about to surface. On the 40th night, when the lanterns twinkled like stars, Margaret gathered everyone for a pivotal moment. Tonight, we honor our journey. As we face what lies ahead, let us remember that we are one heart beating together. Let us invite what is coming with open arms. A mysterious hush fell over the crowd. Something sacred was unfolding. They stood hand in hand, feeling the weight of expectancy, each breath thick with divine possibility. Yet, as Margaret lifted her voice in prayer, the ground beneath them trembled ever so slightly. "What is that?" someone gasped, eyes wide with awe. Timothy clutched Margaret's arm, feeling the electric tension. "What is happening?" Margaret looked beyond the faces, deep into the horizon. There it was, the promise of change, a collective awakening poised to grow. Whenever the divine reveals something great, hearts must adhere to hope, for the journey doesn't end, it transforms. What awaited them in the shadows? Would they yield to fear or embrace the challenge as part of God's unfolding plan? The vibration of the earth quieted to an expectant stillness, and in that moment, time felt suspended. The villagers' eyes were fixed on Margaret, whose heart beat with a rhythm steeped in prayer. She sensed a powerful presence, something beyond mere human understanding, something sacred. "Fear not," she proclaimed, her voice ringing clear. "For God is stirring among us, calling forth not only our courage but our trust. We are here for such a time as this." As waves of murmurs spread through the crowd, the air thickened with an intoxicating blend of hope and fear. Margaret could see Timothy struggling still, his brow furrowed in uncertainty. She stepped forward, wanting to reassure him as well as the others. "Remember the stories our elders have shared, the moments when the Lord moved mountains. Every act of faith has purpose. Each of you are part of this tapestry." Within her words, she felt the weight of truth gathering. The atmosphere pulsed as if the very fabric of reality throbbed with divine energy. The villagers, one by one, began to feel this too. Faces lit with newfound resolve started to shimmer in the lantern light. Then it came a sweet breeze that rolled in from the edge of town, carrying the scent of blooming wildflowers and earth rain. It curled around them, mingling with the warmth of the lanterns. The villagers inhaled deeply, and in that moment, many felt a deep connection to something greater than themselves. They closed their eyes, allowing the Spirit to sweep over them. "His Spirit is in this place," Ruth exclaimed, her voice trembling with emotion. Others began to respond, "Yes. Yes." As they felt their hearts buoyed by hope, Margaret raised her hands, "Let us lift our voices together." The prayer rose into the night, echoing a symphony of faith that intertwined with the winds. They prayed not only for strength, but for understanding of the divine purpose sweeping into their lives. But then, just as the chorus of voices reached a crescendo, the ground shook again, but this time more forcefully. The earth beneath them rumbled, responding to their fervent cries. Gasps echoed throughout Little Haven as eyes darted to the heavens. A shaft of light pierced the darkness, illuminating the village like a gleaming beacon. It felt as if they were caught in a divine spotlight, the heavens parting to reveal truth on the horizon. "What is happening?" Timothy murmured, awestruck. "God is unveiling something, Timothy. Hold on to your faith," Margaret urged, her faith radiant against the growing uncertainty. The shimmer of brilliance brightened, casting elongated shadows on the ground. Suddenly, figures emerged from the light, a radiant host, angels perhaps. Their presence spoke of change and promise, embodying the hope they had prayed for so fervently. "Prepare your hearts. Take courage, dear friends," Margaret encouraged, though a knot of anxious excitement twisted in her stomach. The collective heartbeat of the villagers thrummed in rhythm with the divine pulse. If they had been hesitant, just moments ago, the sense of impending transformation ignited flames of determination. Yet amid the awe, a whisper of doubt gripped Timothy's heart again. But what will we face? What trials are coming? With a firm grip on his hand, Margaret responded, "We have each other. We have love, and love casts out fear. Let us not shrink back in uncertainty. For this is our moment, a turning point written in the annals of time." As the light engulfed everyone, a sense of exhilaration swept through them, each person aligned with the promise of the ages. Would they transform their fear into faith? Would they step boldly as partners in God's unfolding story, whatever it may entail? The essence of hope intermingled with the unknown, and in that glowing moment, they understood they faced an unimaginable path ahead. What divine revelations awaited them through this threshold of uncertainty? Would they find the strength to face the changes to come? Would they open their hearts to the prophetic whispers that beckon from the divine? The light enveloped the villagers, shimmering like a veil of pure glory. Gasps filled the air as Timothy felt the warmth wrap around him, igniting sparks of courage that flickered dimly inside. He looked to Margaret, whose unwavering gaze pierced through his doubt. "Breathe, Timothy," she whispered, her voice soft yet powerful. "Feel the Spirit moving among us. Know that we are not alone." The glow pulsated, swelling with each heartbeat. The angels seemed to sway in the light, their forms shifting in and out of focus, yet undeniably present. They cast a serene calm over the crowd, as if whispering promises of divine intervention. Margaret felt her own heart rise with each moment, the very essence of hope fueling her spirit. A hum began to resonate around them, a sacred melody inviting their hearts to respond. She joined in singing, her voice intertwining with others as a symphony of faith expanded into the heavens. It was a song of unity, longing, and surrender to the divine will, each note echoing the depth of their commingled hearts. The villagers blinked in awe, recognizing each other in newfound clarity, their fears stripped away, revealing the pure craftsmanship of creation. The lines of worry etched into their faces softened as they began to grasp the moment as a gift. They became conduits for divine energy, transmitting faith back into the light. Timothy felt an urgency within, a call to respond in this pivotal hour. "Margaret," he said, his voice trembling as he stepped closer, "what if we are meant to be the bearers of this change?" "Yes," she encouraged, her eyes sparkling. "We are called to rise, to be the hands and feet of His purpose. We must carry this flame into our homes, sharing the love and hope we've received." Resolute, Timothy nodded, engaging each villager's gaze with heartfelt conviction. "If we endeavor to embrace what's come, we might just discover the fortitude we thought we lacked." A collective breath swept through the crowd. One by one, they began to speak, testimonies spilling like rain. "I have not felt seen until tonight," exclaimed Ruth, her voice reverberating with newfound strength. "Me too," called out Mark, wiping away the tears that streamed down his face. "I thought my doubts defined me, but now I see they can help shape my faith." The sharings grew, the crowd bursting forth with stories of their struggles and victories, renewing the thread of community that had always existed but was hidden under layers of fear. Hope suffused the air like fragrant incense, spiritual offerings rising to meet the light that burned above them. Amidst the exchange, a sudden stillness fell over them as the light transformed. It shifted from the golden hue into deeper shades of azure and violet, revealing an ethereal landscape beyond the confines of their village. Margaret sensed a calling, beckoning them beyond what they could perceive. Their prayers soon turned into questions directed at the divine. "What does this mean for us, Lord?" Whisperings echoed softly. The radiant light pulsed, resonating with their inquiries. It felt as if the heavens themselves were about to answer the deepest longings of their hearts. As they strained to listen, an ethereal voice vibrated through the air, echoing promises yet to be fulfilled. "Prepare yourself for a new path. In 40 days, you will embark upon journeys that shall transform your world." Margaret's spirit soared with excitement and trepidation intertwined. 40 days, she echoed, glancing around at her neighbors, each face reflecting wonder. "What awaits us? What must we change?" Timothy pondered aloud, sharing the thoughts of many. The divine presence seemed to nod, inviting them into an unknown of purpose and growth. A blend of anticipation and anxiety filled the air, pulsating like the rhythm of creation itself. As the light began to ebb slowly, Margaret felt a stirring deep within her soul. What had been prophesied? What trials would shape their journeys? Only time would reveal the answers, but one thing was certain: their lives would never again be the same. What could this divine promise of 40 days mean for each of their lives? What miraculous transformations lay ahead as they ventured forth into the awaiting horizon? As dawn approached on the last day of the fast, Little Haven shimmered with a palpable sense of expectancy. The air was charged, every breath seemed to echo with divine purpose. Margaret stood at the altar of St. Michael's parish, her heart racing, eyes glistening with grateful tears as familiar faces surrounded her, hearts intertwined in hope. "Today is not simply the end, my dear friends," she began, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "It is the beginning of what we are called to create together." She gazed out at the congregation, taking in the tapestry of unique stories woven together, each individual a vital thread of faith. The villagers nodded in agreement, their eyes sparkling. "Yes," resounded throughout the chapel, an electric affirmation laced with love and shared purpose. Margaret stepped forward, feeling the pulse of anticipation rising within her. "In 40 days, we have journeyed through sacrifice and prayer. Every act of love, every ounce of faith is a testament to the transformative work of God within our hearts." A murmuring ripple of affirmation swept through the crowd. The familiar scent of incense hung thick in the air as she paused to let those words sink deep. The heavens watched, and everyone felt it. Their struggles and victories were cradled by divine hands. "Friends, we are now called to believe and act. What will we do with this gift?" The answer came whispering from the crowd. "We'll embrace the call to serve." Ethan, standing tall with newfound vigor, stepped forward as if leading an army of faith. "We've witnessed miracles, now we must be the miracles for others." His voice rang clear, shimmering with the energy of a transformed heart. Tears poured freely from many eyes as Margaret felt a warm wave of encouragement sweep through her. Yes. They would continue this journey together, not merely as a village bound by geography but as a family united by faith, ready to embrace the world with open arms. Outside, the sun blazed brighter than ever. Light cascaded upon the earth, illuminating every corner, every soul, every journey yet to come. Margaret raised her hands in surrender, feeling the warmth brush against her skin. "Let our love extend far beyond these walls. Let us reach the lost, the weary, the broken. Each encounter, each act of kindness shall be a blessing that echoes through eternity." Cheers erupted, praises rising like smoke to heaven. Their faith would go beyond claims and become an unstoppable force. They stepped outside, their hearts sank to a rhythm that pulsed through the very fiber of their being. Each villager held hands, forming a circle, a ring of golden hope against the vastness of the world. "Together, we will transform the needs of our community," Margaret declared, her spirit soaring. In the coming days, they ventured forth into a realm of service. Margaret marveled as the chapel transformed into a hub of compassion, sharing meals with the hungry, offering comfort to the grieving, and sowing seeds of connection among the lonely. Each small act echoed like ripples through a still lake, grace and kindness flowing from heart to heart. Timothy, once consumed by doubt, had become a pillar of strength, inspiring others with his testimony of resilience. Every individual began to blossom, enriched by the communal love. Transformations were tangible, palpable. The once quiet village became a vibrant symphony of love, a piece of heaven gracing the earth, and then it happened, the promise unfurled like spring flowers in bloom. On the eve of the 40th day, the villagers gathered in prayer one last time, preparing their hearts for the final revelation. The air shimmered with anticipation as Margaret felt a profound shift, a whisper in the wind carrying the essence of something grander, a fragrance of divine purpose. Just then, the lights dimmed, and the atmosphere thickened. A voice, enveloped in love, echoed from above. "You have stepped into my embrace. Your faith has forged a path to healing and transformation. Now, go forth and share this light. Overcome with the spirit of unity, each villager held their breath. God's promises unwrapped in that sacred moment. New hearts reborn from trials shone brighter than ever. They were driven, not by fear but by faith, as they stepped back into the world, every face beamed with renewed purpose. Margaret looked deep into Ethan's eyes and smiled. We share this journey. We continue the legacy of hope. Now is the time. Be the change, spread the love. And as laughter echoed, the villagers danced into the day the shadows left behind, the excitement of the journey stretching forth before them like a sunrise painting the world anew. Each step orchestrated a divine transformation, like seedlings breaking through the darkness towards the light. Little Haven was reborn, its spirit renewed. This was not an ending but a glorious beginning. So now, I urge you, my friends, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share, for only true servants of God understand the importance of spreading this divine message.